Hey there, and welcome to the Overcomers Overcoming Podcast. It is great to have you join us. This podcast series features those who have gained victory over a life encounter. With that life experience, we encourage those who are experiencing something that might seem to be insurmountable. We advance and encourage others by passing forward evaluated life experiences. We have three objectives in this podcast series. We want to encourage those who are engaged in any type of life encounter by offering to walk with you to help you gain victory over anything that might seem impossible. We want to share our experience to help you. Our second objective is to help you develop a confident resolve that there are multiple options to get past any life obstacle. It's a matter of thinking into the situation. Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you are facing a dilemma resulting from a previous decision you wish you could reverse, we want to help you think into all of the facts and factors involved in making an informed decision. I'm Ron Cooper, founder of the Cooper Culture. I'm with my wife and business manager, Marty. Together, we are the Cooper Culture Company, who is sponsoring this podcast series. Today we feature John Katz, who profiles a past life of being overweight, anxious, experiencing different things in life, even to the point where in 2021 he contemplated suicide. John has a very determined attitude. He was no longer going to continue the way he was. I call him a chain breaker. He exemplifies that attitude of changing his mindset from the way things were, the very lax, non-disciplined lifestyle he was living, to one of discipline and one of purpose. It is a very determined accounting of how he turned what was into what he is. Marty, what are some takeaways our listeners can gain from John?
Ron, I want to take you from when he was at the point of suicide, the thought of leaving his family, couldn't do it. He has made such a great change, and he teaches how to feed the mind, soul, and body with positive to heal everything about you. He explains the food you eat, everything that you take in your body is either a help or a deterrence or a hindrance for you.
It is a very inspiring, wholesome, holistic kind of message. Let's listen and learn together. John, thank you so much for joining us. Our audience is going to be very interested in a quick topical summary of your background. You have overcome suicidal tendencies. You have a mindset, it seems, having learned from your past how to deal with what I call trigger points. And John, I don't necessarily want to put thoughts in your mind that aren't there, but those are some of the things our audience is very interested in learning through your life experience. John, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Very happy to be here. Appreciate you having me on. What you describe as trigger points, I would say, is a habitual construction. So our mind is habitually constructing a future for ourselves, and our bodies are habitually constructing a future for ourselves. So when our bodies engage in negative acts, it puts negative thoughts into our minds, and then we habitually construct a negative future for ourselves. Trigger points: drug use, alcohol use, consumption of bad food, unfortunate interactions with others, spreading oneself too thin amongst a large group of people, in a personal, romantic sense. These are all trigger points. This creates pain in the self and in others, and then you're habitually constructing an individual that is in pain, in creating pain. And this puts the user, and I mean that in every sense of the word, in a dark place. And when you are in a dark place frequently enough, and you are in a darker and darker and darker and darker place, then the pain becomes overwhelming. That's the way I see it. I mean, that's what brought me to the pit of negativity. And what got me out of it was habitually constructing a positive person. So instead of using the substances to escape my pain, instead of using the alcohol to escape my pain, instead of using other people to escape my pain, instead of using food to escape my pain, I constructed a positive individual, habitually constructed someone that did not place pressure on themselves using these pain points. And this alleviated all the darkness and troubles that I was in.
I want to see if I can summarize what you just said, and I don't want to oversimplify it, but positive outweighed the negative. And that was a decision you had to make. Am I correctly summarizing that, John, that there was a point in your life where the negative of whatever your surroundings, what you read, your friends, whatever, you had a very negative aspect of your life, but you overcame that with making a decision to be very positive?
Absolutely. And let the record show I'm a big fan of simplification. I think essentially we have two choices in all of our acts: the acts we choose to bring positivity to ourselves and others, and acts we choose to bring negativity to ourselves and others. I'm cool with oversimplifying. I think it makes things very easy. Someone who used to read a lot and have all of these hypothetical scenarios passing in and out of their mind, when you're engaging with literature and hypothetical situations and other people's writings, you move away from the simple fact that we're either healing ourselves or hurting ourselves, and you move into this realm of abstraction. So I'm cool with that. The negative in my life far outweighed the positive, and there came a point in time where I was considering making the ultimate choice to end my life because I felt like I was in such a dark place filled with despair. Fortunately, I did pull back from the brink from a very simple reason. I had a family that loved me, and I knew that taking myself away from them was the ultimate act of selfishness.
Were there some fundamental happenings in your life that built on the negative, that caused those negative thoughts? We're not here to dwell on the past, but is there a simple explanation of what it was that caused the negative thoughts? And then at what point did you make the decision to go positive?
Yeah, I mean, the structure that surrounds us, our society at large encourages us to engage in some of the worst behaviors possible. The acceptance and normalization of drug and alcohol use drives people towards negativity. The acceptance and promotion of ingesting a copious amount of food at all times, the all-you-can-eat buffet mentality of American culture drives people towards ill health. The obesity epidemic and the overweight epidemic, the fact that the average American is overweight and near obese, speaks very clearly to the problems with mental health. Mental and physical health are at equal. When I was fat, I felt awful. After I became fit, I felt better. My eating habits were out of control. My drinking habits were out of control. My drug use was out of control. And this really is something that I believe we are encouraged to do. We are encouraged to be out of control. And in being out of control in our habits, we are easily controlled by a society that essentially wants us weak. In taking our own strength and taking our own power back, we reject their food. We do not use their drugs. We do not drink their alcohol. We do not go to their nightlife BS. We don't do any of that. We want a future of clean, healthy positivity, and they want us to be mentally ill, overweight, and anxious.
Talk to us about what was the turning point. You just mentioned overweight, you mentioned drinking, alcohol, and so forth. John, was there just a rock bottom low point in your life? Was it a person, a mentor, something? What was the catalyst to bring you to the point, I can no longer continue doing what I'm doing?
Yeah, so in 2020, I was in a relationship I really shouldn't have been in, and this is so universal. Most people, the only thing that most people are devoted to are relationships they shouldn't be in. Part of my mindset training program is you show up every day regardless. What I see most people showing up to every day regardless are jobs they don't like and don't want to be at, and relationships that they don't enjoy being in. I had both of those going on. I was in a relationship I didn't really enjoy. I wasn't really present for it. There was all types of things happening behind the scenes on her end and on my end. It was super unhealthy. It was not the right fit for us. And it ended. It ended pretty poorly. And after it ended, I just said, forget this. This meaning, some semblance of structure that I had. And I went all in on the vices that surround us. I live in New York City. Anything and everything is summonable from your phone. And I summoned it. I went from a relatively dark place in this relationship. I was not happy in this person I really shouldn't have been with. That ended. And then I went whole hog into all of the negative things that were within my reach. I figured, okay, well, if this relationship isn't around, I might as well seek as many casual encounters as possible. If this structure of eating and working and going out isn't around, I might as well eat and drink and go out and use as much as I can. And of course, in attempting to fill my cup from 10 others, my cup did not become 10 times as full. It became 10 times as empty. And this emptiness created nihilism within me, this real negative nothingness that just drove me deeper and deeper into the pit. And I was gaining weight, and I was drinking alcohol, and I was hooking up, and I was hating life. And I just wasn't there for myself. I wasn't there for anyone. Once you're absent enough, you want to absent yourself, or at least I did. I'm extremely sensitive. And I'm extremely sensitive to my own pain. And I was compounding my own pain to the point where I just, I was not right. I, had experienced some trauma or whatever. I think a lot of young people experience negativity growing up, and that I'd carried with me. And then it didn't help that I'd compounded it over and over in my adulthood. And then I doubly or triply or quadruply compounded it in this post-breakup period. This drove me to death's door. I was 40 pounds overweight. I was drinking every weekend, sometimes more frequently. I was using drugs every weekend, sometimes more frequently. I was hooking up as much as I could with as many people as I could, and it just drove me. These are all soulless, meaningless acts, and they were awful. Once I started considering suicide, it even that was extremely painful, and the pain just built and built and built, and it got to the point where I realized something has to change. Either I make this choice to eradicate myself from this planet, or something has to change. And I found a coach, a mindset coach online, who taught me a program of personal development. This person had experienced a lot of negativity in their own life and managed to get past their own drug, alcohol, negative ideation, dark, nihilistic beliefs by habitually constructing a new person. And this person taught me how to do so. I followed the program to a T. I dropped all the weight and more. I built a ton of muscle. I dropped all of my vices. I have not touched any alcohol or drugs since I decided that my life was worth living. I have not missed an early wake up. I have not missed a workout, and I've tracked my food for over 2 years. I got clean on January 19th, 2021, and it's been on ever since. So what you do is the negative person identifies their problems, sees what it's going and identifies what it's going to take to change them, and simply applies the teachings daily to habitually construct a new person. This is very, very simple. A lot of people think you need an advanced psychological degree to understand this. A lot of people think you need to pay some massive amount to see a psychologist and sit around and talk every week. One needs a minimal investment in another person and a maximal investment in self to revolutionize the mind, body, and spirit. And I'm living proof of it.
I'd like to pursue that more. You're a great example. Two things come to mind. It could be a matter of you on your own reached the low point and you chose to look for and get with a life coach. There may be another aspect of it that someone within our circle of influence is doing exactly what you just described, but they don't seem to have the initiative. They don't seem to have the willpower, whatever the term, to find the life coach. So I'd like for you to address it from 2 points. Did you on your own find the life coach? Let me just ask that one question first. Would it be fair to say you reached a low point? Hey, I just cannot continue, or something to the effect, the way I'm living right now is just not going to turn out well? Is that what was the turning point for you?
Absolutely. I was rock bottom. I was feeling the pain was so great that I was considering ending it all. Absolutely.
I want to take just one other aspect of that. Let's assume there's a listener who right now is saying there's somebody within my circle of influence who is in a lifestyle exactly as you described. And I'm not trying to suppose that everyone is the same, but do we necessarily need special qualifications? And I think your answer to that is already no, to intervene effectively in a person's life to say, let's work together. I see some trends that are not good. That person may not say you're on a suicidal track, but at least they intervene in your life. Am I expressing a way that can work to intervene effectively, even though I'm not a trained, certified suicide prevention person?
The only training and certification one needs is proof, results that they have healed themselves. That is it. Everything else is hypothetical. Everything else is just people talking about something they don't know about. Do not take diet advice from someone that is out of shape. Do not take mental health advice from someone who is anxious. Do not take economic advice from someone who is broke. The only qualifications we need are proof positive that we have healed this in ourselves. Otherwise, we're just talking. And so many people are just talking. Anyone who's listening knows someone that is heading down the dark path or even feels some negativity in their own life. See, my biggest thing is that what really causes me challenges is knowing that a lot of people are going to have to reach the pit of suicide in order to be willing to change. And I want to stop that. But I know most people, a lot of people, at least some people won't change unless they're pushed to that. So in the meantime, they're just half doing life and they're bringing some negativity to people. Maybe they freak out on their wife, once a month. Maybe they binge eat once a year. Maybe they are anxious, a few times a day instead of all the time. So many people are so lost, they believe that, oh, my problems aren't that bad. My drinking problem isn't that bad. Everything isn't that bad. So they wait until it is that bad or until their spouse leaves them in order to reach out. Everyone's issues are solvable. Whatever your problems are the biggest problems in your life. Just because you aren't facing a charge and going to jail and anxious about that, you might be anxious about your job. You might be anxious about your children. You might be anxious about your taxes. And you bring that anxiety with you everywhere you go. It's our responsibility as men, and I speak as a man myself because as an irresponsible man, I brought all of my problems everywhere. So I can only speak as a man, although I have coached women, I have female clients. It is our responsibility as men to lead without anxiety, to lead without depression, to lead without any of these things. So just because you have a little of it, it's still your biggest issue. Even though folks might not be considering killing themselves, they still are anxious, are overweight, aren't making the money they want, aren't all of these things that they wish to be. So yes, everyone can hear the message and seek it out. And the only qualifications are having conquered that. I'm not going to be able to teach someone how to build a steel framed house because I've never done that. But there are plenty of things I can teach people how to do, like drop 40 pounds, like kick the attachment to substances, eat right for the first time in your life, lose the anxiety disorder, lose the depressive episodes, wake up early, be on good terms with your family, be on good terms with yourself. These are all things that eluded me. I didn't have any of this until I started doing things to bring these things to me. A lot of people do, very few people are. And I have become this other individual because of what I have done. The program I teach is the same one that I live to change my life, is one of doing. It's a conscious, congruent action. So our conscience is calling us to do something. In my case, it was to not want to kill myself. And so we have to take actions that allow us to follow our conscience. Instead, a lot of people take actions that follow something else, like take an anti-anxiety pill, which is nothing except make you addicted to that pill. Or run from your problems, which makes you do nothing other than run from your problems. That's another thing that I see everyone doing. Everyone is running and or hiding. They're either fleeing it inwardly by taking substances, or they're traveling and thinking that going to this other place is going to change you. I used to travel internationally. I was doing it for cultural purposes, for farming purposes. I'm very much into agriculture, but really I was just running for myself. And I see a lot of people interested in running from themselves because they aren't coming to terms with themselves. They aren't following their conscience. They aren't taking action in line with the construction of a future they desire.
I think a lot of what you're saying is there is a non-medicinal approach, call it holistic, to overcome what it is in our past. I think one of the very important things you've said is if you've experienced having overcome, then pass it on. And that could be the most valuable part of our life. That's a part of what this podcast series is about. Marty and I have each overcome various aspects of our life. We want to pass that forward for the listener. And I'm certainly not dismissing at all the value of having shingles on the wall, certificates and degrees and so forth. But I think maybe, John, you seem to be agreeing with us that if you have a shingle on the wall, but you haven't personally experienced what it is you overcome, credibility is not there. Or said another way, your greatest credibility is your evaluated life experience.
That's exactly it. Too many people speak from books. They don't speak from experience. And that's very, very dangerous. To preach something that one has not lived is extremely dangerous. It's about overcoming. It's about taking our pain, honestly acknowledging it, which is very rare, and overcoming it. And we would be so selfish if you two, and it's clear you two have gone through challenges and understood how to heal those challenges. How selfish would you be if you said, well, it was good enough for me and nothing else? If I just took what I learned and said, oh, it's good enough for me that I'm fit now for the first time ever, I stopped telling myself lies about my past, my genetics, that I couldn't get a six-pack. All of these are the self-limiting beliefs, which is what holds people back. And I learned how to defeat all the self-limiting beliefs. I learned how to get all of my vices under control. And I just decided not to tell the world. How selfish would I be? I refuse. And this is why I coach people online, because it allows me to connect with people around the world and give them the knowledge, the wisdom, and the blueprint to really change every aspect of their being. I mean, every aspect, the way I think, the way I feel, what I do every day. I was not a morning person. I was not a gym person. I had bad genetics. These are lies. And we tell ourselves these. John, until 34 years of age, told himself these things to excuse our behavior. The biggest thing that I hear every day are excuses. The excuses I hear from people are ceaseless. And it's everything I just said and more. They're always limiting themselves. They're always telling me what they can't do, why they can't heal, what's stopping them from changing. And if they're telling me that, they're definitely telling themselves that a million times over. I don't listen to any of them because I had all of those excuses and I no longer do. I was the biggest excuse-making, lying, cheating, using, depressed, anxious, substance abusing person in the world. There is not anyone alive that can tell me anything that I did not tell myself for 34 years, that I was a victim of intergenerational BS, that I was somehow oppressed by those around me, that I was doomed to fail, that I was doomed to be broke. These are things that I told myself. And what do you know? Before I got healthy, I was making less than half the money I'm making now. I was living in a horrible fifth floor walk up in a heroin-riddled part of town. I now own my own apartment in New York City, in Lower Manhattan to be exact. It's filled with art. I manifested my dream life, literally my dream life. I've always wanted to own my own home in Manhattan, covered with art. You can see some of it. This is something that was literally impossible for me to even think of because I couldn't think of anything other than the bottle, the bag, the hookup, the cheeseburger, and all these other things. When you get rid of those negative thoughts, the world opens up. And 2 years and change later, I have this gorgeous home. I'm doing exactly what I love every day. I've monetized my hobbies and passions, which are the food and culture of New York City and healing people. And this is what people need to understand. It is okay to be where you are, physically, metaphysically, emotionally, whatever, but it's not okay to stay there. Forever, I thought it was just okay. It was okay for me to be overweight and unhappy with my body. It was okay for me to be anxious and depressed and just bring that to all my relationships. It was okay to not be good to my girlfriends and fiance eventually and just be okay. None of these things are okay. You take away the parts of your life that are not okay through mindset training, my program. Just by taking that away, you're a better person. A lot of people think they need to add all this stuff and fancy equipment. I got my six-pack in my own home, working out on the sidewalk and in my tiny apartment. So you don't need a personal trainer. You don't need fancy gym equipment. You don't need a membership. You don't need any of these things. For eating, you actually need to take a lot of the fancy stuff away. The nutrition plans, and this is probably the most valuable thing that my clients get. They get a client-specific custom macronutrient-based nutrition plan, which is actually very simple food. It's the way our people, humans, have eaten for a long time. Vegetables, lean protein, and fruit. That's it. Just people make it so complex. The story that I used to tell myself was incredibly complex. It had all these variables and all these factors, and they were all false. The story I tell myself now is incredibly simple. Your pain is your greatest gift. That's the story I tell myself now. One line. From that, you take that, your pain is your greatest gift. Everything branches out from there. Use the pain as a lever to get ahead in life physically. Use the pain to get ahead of life emotionally. Use the pain as a lever to get ahead in life economically. Use the pain to get ahead in life in every other way. You have that one story, and that's everything else springs from that. The story I told myself before was so complex and had all these things going on and all these people had done me wrong and all these issues had beset my life and I was just so doomed and I couldn't work out and all these things, all that is gone. All the fancy food is gone. All the fancy drugs cooked in a lab is gone. All the fancy alcohol is gone. Everything is gone. All gone. And what's left is this real spiritual wellness and oneness and a mind-body-spirit connection and the ability to connect with you two folks, which is beautiful. Never in a million years would I be able to have this connection and the connection I have with my clients on my coaching program, connection I have on my IG, which is at NYC Foodways. No, it was not possible. I didn't have Instagram. Instagram is my main form of artistic creativity. I post every day and I love it. I connect with people around the world. I love it. I didn't even have a single social media account. That's how ashamed of my mind, body, and spirit I was before I started this process.
What is your pain point or possible pain points? What is it you're thinking about that you wish you no longer were? What are you thinking about that I've got to stop doing? Whatever these things are you are considering, you are at a pain point, and I want to encourage you to assess where you are, but more so, make a decision to change. You may be overeating, you may be anxious, you may be depressed, you may be in some sort of isolation. Whatever it is you are going through, it's a decision. It's a matter of assessing where you are, making a decision, I no longer want to be. The expression, we cannot continue to do what we're doing and expect different results, is certainly applicable here. It is a matter of making a decision, and once you've made that decision, take action. Get with others who will encourage you, be accountable with you, and that level of accountability is in no way blaming, but rather encouraging. As we encourage each other, we can get beyond where we are to become the very best we were meant to be. Coaching, being in the presence of others who will encourage us, is where we need to be. You mentioned very quickly intergenerational. Our listeners can't see the fact that Marty and I are baby boomers, and you may be what's known as a Gen Z. I'm very curious, John, from an intergenerational perspective, do you have to be age aligned, generationally aligned to be effective, or is a life story frequently sufficient?
Oh, yeah. The wisdom is universal. My eldest client was 59. And there are folks in the coaching space that are in their late 60s. The story is universal. Everyone carries the same pain. Everyone has the same pain. It's the only thing that changes us on our path, or that differentiates us on this path, is the degree to which that we're honest about our pain. So person A is their pain, they're honest about it, they've worked through it, and they're strong enough to help others. Person B is dishonest about it, they're still in the pit, and they're not willing to even help themselves. Age doesn't matter, gender doesn't really matter. We all have the same pain. I'm 36, my folks had the same pain. The reason that I received some pain as a youth is because they didn't resolve their pain, but they didn't have access to the knowledge base we do. They didn't resolve their pain. They ended up passing it on. I've resolved it, and now I'm super close with them. I've actually helped them process a lot of the garbage that they've carried forever. All of these things are solvable. All of these issues are solvable, no matter whether you're a boomer, a millennial like myself, or a Gen Z. It's just a willingness, interest in solving it, and that is the limiting factor. A lot of people are so comfortable in their pain. They would rather the pain they know than the healing they don't know. And that is the biggest tragedy. They're so comfortable in their pain. It's like a blanket to them. They know it well. It's a story that I used to tell myself about the various ways I was oppressed. And because I knew that story so well, that was enough for me. That's all I had. That's all I wanted. That's all I desired. At the surface, of course, deep down, I desired to be well, but I was not honest enough to do it. Age, location in the world. I've coached folks internationally. The message is universal. If you are in trouble, there is help for you. If you are in pain, there is healing for you, and it comes from within. But most people need a guide because it's very daunting to structure your life in a way. The way that we evolved, our species, there were always spiritual leaders in the community. There were always guides, people that had come back from battle, whether it be spiritual warfare or physical warfare. And these are the people that mentored the youth. We don't have that anymore. So it's no wonder people of all ages are so messed up. There's no one to guide us. And this is what a coach does. Every successful athlete in the world is a coach, but most people think they're better than Michael Jordan. That's something else that people are crazy about. They don't need that. They don't need that. It's ego. All this stuff, guys, this is pure ego. Everyone that says, I don't need that, I'm doing my own thing, that's ego. How did Michael Jordan get there? How did every pro athlete get there? By having someone coach them on their path, someone that had been through it already. And this has been robbed from us. And this is what I'm bringing back. This is what you two are bringing back, this mentorship, this coaching, this free expression of positivity.
I appreciate everything you just said. I use the term everybody can be a chain breaker. You mentioned very much in passing, parents did, and you were raised in an environment, no condemnation, no blaming intended to be that. We just recognize who we used to be, the environment we used to have, those kind of things. We can be a chain breaker. Marty and I, you mentioned spiritual. I will tell our audience, we are unabashedly faith-based. Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior. It is through His grace, His willpower in our life that we have overcome and will continue to overcome virtually anything in our life. And we want to pass that forward. We are not Bible bangers. We don't want to push something in your face. Through our experience, this is what we have done and we have overcome. We're not self-powering. We owe our success to a greater power in our life. Not a sermon, just a thought.
There's a lot of arrogance in the person that says that it's all them. When the man or woman that says, oh, this is all me, is incredibly arrogant. We are all connected through a unifying spiritual force that cannot be put into words. It's not possible. Only the arrogant, sick individual would claim to have it all figured out, would claim to know exactly what's going on. That was me. I didn't believe. I was not raised Christian, but I did have a religious upbringing and I rejected it. In rejecting oneself, you reject the group. In rejecting the group, you reject the universe. In rejecting the universe, you reject creation because you are a destructive person. The self-destructive or destructive person has no love for the creative or the creation of positivity. And that's our creator. That's the universe. This is the universal spirit we speak of. So, and if you look at all the teachings, everyone is saying the same thing. Everyone is saying the same thing in different words. So I don't split hairs in terms of different faiths, but since getting healthy, a big part of that was returning to myself, was returning to the connection, was returning to our creator, was returning to faith. A lack of faith in the present shows a lack of faith in the divine, which shows a lack of faith in the future. It's incredibly arrogant. It shows how far we have been separated from that which nourished us forever. I absolutely could not have done it without a belief in a grander creation. I refer to it as the universe. That's the best. And the universe has tested me greatly. We're all in this together. In rejecting the creation and rejecting the universe, one distances oneself from the greater web of humanity, which is the peak of arrogance. As if you showing up, standing in a room with me, thinking about killing yourself is not going to suck all of the energy out of the room.
That's very well said. As we bring this in for a close, for those who may have any kind of a profile, mental image of New York City, and maybe in the context of arrogance, you certainly do not project that. I am not trying to say everybody has an impression that everyone from New York City is arrogant. Let's just say there are some who do, and you do not project that. On behalf of our listeners, I want to thank you for passing forward your life experience. We would like to continue this journey with you. Would you consider coming back for another episode? That I think there's a lot of your life experience our listeners need to learn from.
Not only would I consider it, I would encourage it. There's so much to unpack here. Aligned individuals, the three of us on this call, being open about our past, present, and future can fully align with the group at large. And that is my mission in life. When I was at the club on ecstasy, mushrooms, and a fifth of gin, I was totally lost. I was not connected with anyone, least of all myself. Now that I'm fully connected with myself, I'm able to connect with folks like you. Now that I'm able to fully connect with folks like you, I'm able to fully connect with the group at large. And I would like to continue doing so. I would love to, actually.
That would be just great. You have a great mission, a great life, a great evaluated life experience. And Marty and I both are very concerned about mental health of our nation. There are too many people who are going through various struggles, and it may be partly and maybe largely because of pandemic isolation. We need to be more proactive in interacting with each other. Too many of our listeners feel, well, I'm not qualified. And I would answer that, and perhaps you would also, John, just have the courage to talk with somebody, because you can help them overcome something that they may be thinking about that they're not verbalizing at this very moment.
Change starts with us. It's never too late to change. It's never too dark to find the light. It's never too anything to bring positivity into your life.
That is a great way to close this and open it up for another episode. John, thank you for sharing your life. We look forward to continuing your life journey.
My pleasure. Any folks that want to get in touch, if you're struggling with any part of your being, if there's any aspect of your mind, body, or spirit you are not happy with, you are going to bring that unhappiness to the rest of your life and your existence, hit me up on Instagram at NYCFOODWAYS. That's at NYC Foodways. Much love to all listening.
Sounds great. John, we'll do everything we can to promote this topic. We have together a great benefit to our listeners. Thank you for sharing your life. Consequential decisions almost always involve change, changing something, what we used to do to no longer continue doing that. For some people, change is very difficult. I don't want to change because it requires me to do something different. I have to change a discipline, a habit. But when we think about the consequences of not changing, I would hope the consequences of not changing are greater than whatever needs to be done to develop the discipline to make the change. Too many people are overweight, obese. Too many people are in some sort of depression. Too many people have a poor mental health, and I'm putting mental health in the context of negativity. Too many people are thinking negative about various situations. There are a host of things that have brought these negative decisions, negative thinking about. I want to encourage you to take a very deep, introspective look and maybe get with a confidant, a person with whom you can share very openly things about your life, a person who can help you assess where you are. Do you want to continue doing things you are doing? Your eating habits, your thinking habits, your reading habits, anything that constitutes a habit. Do you want to continue doing what you're doing, or do you want to change? I want to encourage you as well. Get with a person who has overcome anything of the past. I totally agree with John. You don't necessarily need to be with a person who is certified in, but you do need to be with a person who has overcome. Now, I'm putting all this in the context of a general wellness scenario, meaning if it is simply a matter of making a life choice, get with a person who has made a very similar life choice. Learn from them how they overcame the past, how they developed a new discipline, how they were able to change and do whatever they needed to do to develop a new lifestyle, to do what needs to be done. Coaching is one of those disciplines that can help you overcome anything that may be keeping you from performing at your very best. Too many of us have events, things that have happened in the past that become very active in our current thought process. We need to manage those thoughts to make certain whatever has happened in the past does not dominate our future and current thinking. Let's get with the coach. Marty and I are certified life coaches through the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team. Any of us can help you through anything that may be hindering you from making a viable life decision. Contact Marty or me. Schedule a complimentary 30-minute coaching session. Contact us at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, M-A-R-T-Y, at thecooperculture.com. We can help you determine if we are the ones who can help you live a more vibrant lifestyle, one that is more in line with what God created you to be. We hope we can warrant a 5-star rating with this podcast. We hope you'll want to share this podcast with your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn connections, your Twitter and Instagram communities. The more we share openly, the more we discuss how we can make changes, the greater benefit we will be to others. Marty and I are also keynote speakers. You can find us on espeakersplural.com. Look for Ron Cooper, F4 Pilot. We look forward to the opportunity of sharing our life experience with you. Our heart desire is to advance and benefit others, to help everyone live the life that they were designed to have and have the total fulfillment each of us can know. We look forward to working with you.